All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. I'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Hope everybody's doing well today on this beautiful Thursday. As always, just trying to follow distractions, grab a pen and paper, take lots of notes. Let's make sure that we participate and engage. And as always, want to start our day off by taking massive action. That action stands for accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome, centering yourself, body, mind, and spirit, ensuring a balanced approach to trading, trusting your education, strategy, trade skills, and intuition. Imagine your trade successful materializing, obeying your trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear, and never looking back or stopping once your trade has commenced. All right. So if everybody can hear me okay, drop me one in the chat and we will get things underway. All right. Cool deal. Let's slide over to trading economics and we will rock from there. All right. So, um, German consumer morale below estimates. Germany CFK consumer climate indicator edged down to negative 20.3. Heading into July 2025 from a marginally revised 20 in June, marking the first drop in 4 months, and missing the forecast of 19.3. The propensity to save hit a 13-month high, with the willingness to buy remaining weak. Still, economic expectations climb to the highest since early 2022. And income expectations rose for a fourth straight month, right? So the consumer sentiment um, in Germany is still pretty low when it comes to the overall economy. Um, some things shifting, right? With the income expectations continuing to rise. So that's something we'll continue to monitor from the Eurozone perspective is the um, consumer sentiment. All right. Um, Brent crude futures trimmed early gains to trade largely flat around $68 a barrel on Thursday, holding below levels seen on June 12th when Israel attacked Iran as markets seek stability. All right, markets are seeking stability. The ceasefire between Israel and Iran is holding, and initial fears of potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz or significant damage to the regional oil infrastructure eased. However, U.S. President Donald Trump reaffirmed that pressure on Iranian oil exports will continue and announced that the U.S. will hold talks with Iran next week. It's the U.S. and Israel, supposedly. Meanwhile, oil market remains well supplied. OPEC has significantly increased output in recent months, and the U.S. Shale producers are maintaining production at record highs despite robust demand, right? The latest EIA data showed U.S. crude inventories fell by 5.8 million barrels, while stockpiles at Cushing dropped to the lowest level since February. All right, markets focus now is turning to OPEC Plus meeting in July on July 6th, where production policy for August will be set. Right, to see if they continue to increase those production levels or if they will pull those back. All right. We have strong consumption of oil as we move through these peak summer months, right? Travel season is well underway, and that kind of underpins the current prices. Other things that we have, let's see. Oil demand hasn't seen this level since December 2021, right? Which is kind of holding price where it is, keeping that demand elevated. Let's see. Overall, the consensus right now is OPEC Plus members are preparing to increase output in July, right, with plans to unwind surplus cuts that may cap oil upside. So we could see a limited upside unless we see an uptick in the geopolitical tensions. So we'll watch things there to see how things move overall. Um, to see to see if we get another push to the upside on oil. We'll take a look at it and see where it is right now. Yeah, so we'll continue to watch things there from an oil perspective. Dollar index, right? Benny talked about the DXY and the dollar pairs yesterday. Dollar index extends its declines to 97 on Thursday, marking its lowest level since February 2022, as expectations grow that the Fed may cut interest rates sooner than previously anticipated. The Wall Street Journal reported that President Trump is considering announcing his pick for the next Fed chair as early as September or October, effectively installing a shadow chair who could influence sentiment and potentially steer policy in a more dovish direction. Trump has reportedly criticized um, Chair Powell for maintaining current levels and not delivering further cuts. Market is pricing in now uh, 62 basis points of easing by the end of the year, slightly up from the 61 the previous day. Meanwhile, Fed Chair Powell testified before Congress, reiterating that interest rates should remain steady for now. Right? He warned that tariffs could pose upside risk to inflation, justifying caution, but acknowledged that without those inflationary pressures, the Fed would likely have continued to ease. Right? So the thing that's holding them up is the concern about tariffs. Okay. Um, so that's what the Fed really has their eyes on. So that we'll continue to watch the data to see if things do start to trickle in, right? And if they don't, and Donald Trump um, announces this individual sooner rather than later, we could see a an interesting combination of tax bill being passed, rate cuts coming sooner because of the pressure and the shadow chair, um, causing the dollar to continue to tank, but causing the stock market to continue to rise to the upside. All right. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on that to see what happens in the background as Donald Trump continues to try to influence the Fed, even though they're supposed to be an independent organization. All right. Um, Stocks 50 and the Stock 600 gained zero point 0.3 on Thursday, attempting to reverse losses from the previous session, with traders continuing to follow the situation in the Middle East while digesting fresh corporate news. Shares of H&M jumped more than 7% after the company reported weaker than expected sales uh, in the fiscal second quarter, but pointed to an uptick in demand to kick off the summer season. Shell and BP were slightly higher after uh, Shell said that it has no intention of making an offer to purchase BP. Right. There's some reports out there about BP kind of resetting and trying to rebrand themselves again. And so there was a rumor that Shell was going to try to buy them, and it sounds like that is being talked down. Um, Stellantis, on the other hand, was down nearly 0.9%, with the company starting to review its long-term strategic plan. Meanwhile, NATO's decision to raise defense spending targets to 2%, from 2% to 5% of GDP by 2035 fueled a rally in European defense stocks, including Rheinmetall and BAE Systems. On the data front, Germany's GfK consumer climate indicator edged down slightly in July, right? Which we talked about. So that's where we are, right? So from this, defense stocks, right? And we've touched on some of them, but defense stocks because NATO is planning to increase spending on defense, right? Seeing some of those moves to the upside and some of those new ones that we talked about, right? Palantir is in that defense category, along with other categories. You got Archer Aviation, which was also in that defense category, right? Along with um, some of the energy categories. Let's really keep our eyes on some of those. Because those will be some good opportunities over the long term, right? And we're catching some pretty good prices right now. So keep your eyes there. Uh, ba, 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 ba. Yeah, that's it. So let's go over to the calendar. And for today, boom. Um, we have Governor Bailey speaking at 7 o'clock in 15 minutes. You have final GDP quarter over quarter for the dollar at 8:30, unemployment claims, durable goods orders, final GDP quarter over quarter for the dollar. FOMC member Goolsby speaks, trade balance and preliminary wholesale inventories for the dollar as well coming in at 8:30. More FOMC members speaking at 8:45. More FOMC members speaking at 9 o'clock. Pending home sales, natural gas storage. I'm interested to see what that looks like. You got Christine Lagarde speaking from the ECB at 2:30, and then this evening you have Tokyo Core CPI year on year and unemployment rate and retail sales for the yen coming in tonight. Um, Continue watching the yen. We'll take a look at some of those pairs. We could start to see the yen start to shift. So let's just be kind of cautious of that. I know we've been riding it to the upside and we're getting to some higher prices. So we want to watch and see if we start to see that narrative shift coming out of the Bank of Japan as data continues to come in there. So that's where we are from a calendar perspective. Any any questions from a fundamental perspective? No? Benny, good morning, bro.
Ryan, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Ryan, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. How was your trip?
Oh, the trip was good, man. Trip was good. Got to spend some time with one of my good friends and her family from high school. Um, 40th birthday, so it was a good time. And then we um explored a little bit around Orlando.
Yeah,
Went to a water park and um got some good food. So it was a good time.
yeah.
It was a
Always
good
good
time.
food down there, man, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And spent a lot of time around the pool. So it was cool.
It's
It was cool.
always a plus, man. Well, glad to have you back, man.
Appreciate it, man. Glad to be back, dude.
Anything.
Appreciate you holding things down yourself. I'm
Yeah, it's all good. All good, man. So a shadow chair.
he trying his best to manipulate this thing, man.
Talking about tanking the dollar.
Yep,
Yeah, which is man. That's all I got to say, man. You covered everything else. A shadow chair. I'm still trying to figure that one out. It's something new every day with this guy. you know.
every day, dude.
Uh,
Every day.
but I have to say that for a man his age, his energy is unbelievable. I don't know how he's involved in so many different so many different things at one time. It is total chaos. It's something new every day.
Dude, it is
Something new
out.
every day.
I keep my opinions to myself on what I think it is, but it's definitely
Yeah.
wild. It's definitely
Uh,
wild. The
man,
amount of energy that he has, and he never
it's
stops.
been 6 months, man. 6 months. 6 months in a 4-year term. And
Right.
we got all of this already. So yeah, I don't know. Well, the dollar's paying the price for it. We were talking about it yesterday, right? It being at a key level in 5 months. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Right.
5 months.
Right. My bad, Reese. For sure. Like it's unbelievable. I don't. The dollar's paying the price. That's the main thing, right? As a result of the latest. That's what we were focused on yesterday. And man, I don't know how this much chaos is sustainable, but we'll see, man. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, man. It's breakneck pace, and we got 3.5 years left.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I don't know, man. It'll be volatile. It'll be a volatile
Buy crypto
three and
and
a
use
half.
facts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true, right? Where are we going? Where are we going? Place our positions. That's a good point. That's a good point. I'm with you there. So we'll see what happens, man. That's all I got, man.
All
That's
right,
it.
bro. Appreciate it, dude.
Yep. No
Um,
doubt.
so let's take a look. We'll take a look at the dollar first. And then Reese, I do want to take a look at Bitcoin and see where it is. We'll take a look at some yen crosses and some stocks. So DXY down, right? Down, tanking the dollar. Okay. Um, even though Jerome Powell still has his hawkish tone, the market is looking at the shadow chair, right? And the pressure that Donald Trump continues to put on the Fed to cut rates and how he's working to manipulate that situation. So, with that being said, right, we look at our plan and our trading plan, and this tells the story. 50% retracement, matching the extension 95. That's where it's headed. We said if we break this level, right, 97,665, we break this level, right, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, right? If we go back to the weekly, right, it's a wrap. 618 retracement. The story was told here, right? The story was told here. Boom. We're in that consolidation. We got to push up. And then the breakdown. And now that additional confirmation that we're looking for, we're getting it, right? And fundamentally, it all aligns, right? So 91 on the weekly is the matching extension. So we'll drop this in here. That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. Okay. We haven't been here since 2021, right? We got all-time lows from back in 2018. Is that all time? We'll double check that. Or this is that new chart. But these are all-time lows here, which, to be honest with you, wouldn't surprise me over the next 4 years if he pushes it to this level at 85,755. Okay. Um, Coming back to the monthly, boom, right? There's a story. There's a story. 618 retracement, boom, matching extension, 91. All right. And so we have marked out this range as an area for us to keep our eyes on between 96 and 91. And we're headed there. We're headed there. So Benny went over those dollar pairs yesterday. Um, and they're headed to their extensions, short term and long term. And so, like Benny said, we'll look for pullbacks and continuations on these dollar pairs and dollar crosses until something changes, right? Until something changes. So that's where we are. The 4 hour 618 retracement, matching extension is here 96. All right. So we're pullbacks and continuations on the dollar pairs, dollar crosses um, until. All right. Any questions on the DXY? There's your 1 hour. Boom.
Nope.
Boom. All right. So that is that. Let's take a look at since it's on the screen, S&P 500, right? Moving to the upside. So we're watching this, right? We got things kind of coming into play here. End of the month, we got tax bill on the table, right? They're trying to push things to get it done before there's recess. You got Donald Trump pushing the Fed to cut rates, um, talking about replacement of the Fed chair. It's all driving market to the upside with anticipation. Okay. So let's watch these levels to see if we're able to break through and continue that ride to the upside. All right. And as long as things continue kind of to stay the status quo, and we'll see these things continue to drive to the upside. All right. Some of the things to keep an eye on in the background when we're looking at that market either continue to move to the upside or turning over, right? Some of the risks when it comes to the debt, right? As this tax bill gets implemented, um, debt ballooning out of control. Okay, that's one thing. They're trying to. I mentioned to Benny. They're trying to change how the numbers are calculated, and they're talking about because if they extend the 2017 tax cuts, it's not adding anything additional to the budget, quote unquote. So that doesn't have to be counted towards the overall debt. Um, so they're trying to change how money is calculated, how numbers are calculated to justify and change the narrative of what this tax bill will do to the overall debt um, for the country. So something to keep our eyes on. Inflation, if inflation resurges and pushes to the upside, right? That's also something to keep our eyes on from an inflationary perspective and could cause market to turn over if some of those concerns start to creep in, which Jerome Powell is was causing his concern, right? Headline inflation has cooled. Core services inflation, housing, medical insurance, that part still remains kind of sticky. Okay. So like I said, if inflation reaccelerates, you could see the Fed still kind of push to pause and hold off as long as they can. All right. Other things that could cause a retracement, a pickup in the Middle East conflict, a pickup in Taiwan, South China Sea tension, um, and then the ongoing discussions and disagreements with Russia and NATO and Eastern Europe. Right. So those are some things that we'll continue to watch. Commercial real estate is something we haven't talked about a lot recently. We talked about quite a bit last year, but this is also one to watch as we continue to move forward with the current climate. Commercial real estate and regional bank stress. Okay, office vacancies. Those office vacancy rates are still greater than 20% in major U.S. cities, right? So you still have a lot of vacant properties and these loan maturities will start to hit the second half of the year, right? Second half of this year, you have $550 billion in loans coming mature and needing to be renewed in the commercial real estate market, right? Not something that's talked about right now, but something to definitely keep our eyes on. Um, because as this debt has to be renewed, and another reason that pushing for rate cuts, um, because all of this debt that was renewed back during COVID times, super low interest rates, is going to be renewed at 4 times that previous rate, right? So the cost to service that debt is going to increase drastically, which is going to put pressure on your companies which is gonna cause defaults. Regional banks hold a lot of this debt, right? You have a lot of commercial defaults. You got some stress on your regional banks and some of your larger banks too, but they'll be able to maintain, right? And so if rates remain elevated and liquidity dries up, right, which is another reason for this tax bill trying to get it done, right, to free up some additional cash, regional banks uh, could could implode, right? Um, think SVB, right? So that's something to keep our eyes on second half of the year. Um, if things move a little slow when it comes to the tax bill and cutting rates, we could see some issues in the commercial real estate market. Okay. The tax bill we've been talking about, right? So that's something to definitely continue to watch. And then yeah, those are some things to keep our eyes on. All right. As we move through this period of time. So with this S&P 500 pushing into these levels, matching the extension 65, right? Ben has been talking about the 65 range for quite some time, right? And we expect it to get there, right? We expect it to get there. So we'll continue to monitor that over the long term. Coming down to the four, right? You got 80/20 on the four. We're pressing to that 61.32 level, right? And it's just a question of do we get a retracement now or do we get to the matching extension first and then get our pullback to retest to then continue that move higher? Okay. So um, that is the S&P 500 down on the one, similar story, 80/20, but we have all of those things pushing the market higher, which as of right now, nothing is standing in its way just yet. All right, so we're looking bullish on the S&P 500. Any questions here or any of those things that I mentioned when it comes to potential concerns uh, in the future?
No, sir.
All right, cool deal. So that's the S&P 500. I'm going to take a look at Bitcoin. I haven't looked at this one in quite some time. Is this not my chart? Oh, my market has disappeared. Interesting. Make sure I'm on the right one. Yeah, I don't know what happened to my markups, but we'll roll with it. We'll do a fresh markup on Bitcoin. I haven't looked at it in quite some time. So, Teresa's point of buy crypto, right? Crypto bill passed recently, right? And it's going to continue to drive the market to the upside. Another one of those things that Benny's talked about the amount of money that Donald Trump has made since being in office, and that crypto bill passing is another opportunity for him to continue to cash in on the United States. Uh, coming down to the weekly, right? We see price running to the upside. Okay. Um, let's see if we can drop a fib on here. Boom. So 50% retracement. It's on a weekly time frame. Matching extension 150-ish, 144. This is where we're headed in the medium term. All right. So where we're headed in the medium term. So we're going to mark this out. Weekly D extension. Boom. Okay.
Speaking of the family dynasty, man, did you see where Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. What was it? 1.4 billion um, to turn a remote island that used to be a Soviet weapons based. It's an Albanian island, I believe. There used to be a Soviet weapons base into a resort.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Yeah, man. Out there getting it done, man.
Cashing in, baby.
Yep.
Cashing in. Talk about
Yeah,
taking
man.
talk about taking full advantage of opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
Jeez.
just a quick update.
Jesus Christ. Uh, cashing in. Cashing in. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Interesting, dude. So that's on the weekly time frame. Uh, coming down to the daily, we are right. We're still rocking to the upside. We got a swing low that formed here on the daily. Boom, support, bow. Right. Let's see. We got another support level here. It's choppy right there, but that's a support level. Um, so we'll keep it like that for now. Won't worry about any of these lower levels in the 60 range unless something drastic happens. I don't know that we get back to that level. So let's run some new fibs off the low and see where this takes us. Boom, boom, boom. Look at that. Beautiful 80-20 retracement. Look at that. Look at it. All right. November, December, first half of the year, first few months of the year. All right. First 3 months, boom, 618 retracement. And now the takeoff. We're just almost at the D extension. Right. So if anybody's been trading this, um, right, textbook 80-20, beautiful move, cashed in, right? 618 to the upside. We're almost at the D extension, ready to cash in, right? Weekly D extension at 144. So we'll get another reset at some point, right? And we'll watch these and look for pullbacks and continuations here. All right. So almost at a daily D extension here. And we'll look for a reset. Boom. Boom. All right. So that's on the daily. Coming down to the 4. Let's zoom back and just look at these smaller waves. Boom. Again, all right? Again, no matter the time frame, no matter the time frame, shallow retracement, 118, 127 zone, breakdown, 50% retracement. All right. We had that larger move here, and we had it again here, May to June. Retracement, right? Low price at 98. Boom, takeoff. So the 4-hour matching D extension is here at 113. So this is our range for our extension levels. Boom. Daily and the 4-hour. That's where we're headed before we get potentially another pullback or maybe another 80-20, right? So running to the upside on Bitcoin, we'll come down to the 1 and we'll look at this last move, right? That A probably was taken out somewhere. Boom. Yep. So boom, boom, boom. We'll run this to the upside off the low. Boom. So what you could do, right? What we could do Y'all are funny, man. Um, so we got 80-20 here, right? So do we get a pullback? Do we get a pullback to a low price here on the 1 hour? Set us up for that continuation to that range. Where'd it go? Around 113. Did I not put it in there? I must not have put that mark in there. This is our range. Okay. Boom. So that's what we're looking for. Pullback, continuation. All right. But the reason is pointing Bitcoin to the upside, crypto to the upside. All right. And now we're playing the waves. Okay. We got a longer term target from a weekly time frame at 144. So just like some of these other opportunities that we've been looking at, we're looking for low prices to get long. Low prices to get long. So, like I said, we can get price to pull back into our sweet spot here, right? Pull back into our sweet spot around this 102 area, 101, 102, right? Even if it comes back to $98, I won't be mad at it. Be a great opportunity to buy. Okay. So that's Bitcoin. Questions? No? No? All right. Cool deal. Let's look at this oil price. Oil pressed down, right? We have tons of things happening geopolitically. Um, Ceasefire, supposedly Iran and Israel to meet with the United States next week to talk. You got conflicting reports of the amount of damage done to the nuclear sites. Donald Trump is upset because he says that the media is lying. The IAEA isn't telling the truth. Um, they completely obliterated the sites, right? Pictures show stories. So, so that's where we are, right? Tons of back and forth happening, um, pushing that oil price down. Came into a level of previous resistance. We're stalling right here, right now. We got a stochastic pushing down into the buy zone. We could have some caps on the oil price, though, depending on what OPEC has to say regarding July and August production. They're preparing for production to continue to ramp up in July, and then we'll see what they have planned for August as well when it comes to the oil production. But there could be some caps there. Um, and then we'll see how things move with this conflict in the Middle East, and if Israel um, holds its word when it comes to ceasefire. So we'll continue to watch that there. But what we have is that should be a new fib. Boom, that push up got us to a 50% retracement. And so what I'm looking at is two things, right? One, does this level continue to hold? Does this hold and do we get another leg to the upside, right? We'll look at things on the lower time frame as well, right, in this area here. But previous resistance, does this serve as future support with that stochastic coming down into the buy zone? Are we able to get another move to the upside? Is there something that happens fundamentally, right, that gives us the catalyst to push higher, getting us into the $79-$80 range, right? That's one scenario that we could be looking at, right? We could also have a crown pattern here, right? If that occurs. Okay, if this level holds and we get a push to the upside, getting us into this $80, $85 range, right, we could have that crown pattern form. So that's something on the daily that I'm keeping my eyes on while watching the fundamentals to see if that plays out, right? If we break this level and we continue to push to the downside, that bet is off. I'm looking short, right? Matching the extension right now is $30. Do we allow oil to get to $30? We'll see. If we do, Benny, I'm not gonna miss the opportunity that time. So
Sir.
run the fifth from the bottom. Yep, I'm getting to that part, Reese. I'm getting to that part for sure on that case to the upside. So we come down to the four here, right? And we got that. I'm gonna take this daily fib out, and I'm gonna look at. I want to look just to make sure. There's our capital fib there on the four, right? It's long, but that pushed us up to the 50% retracement level. Okay. Strong move, strong impulsive move. We got a retracement. What happens from here? Okay. Um, pull that out for a second. What happens from here, right? And so if we are looking long, right, on the four that got taken out, I thought that was, let's see, that did get taken out there. Um, Larice was looking here on the daily at that fib there. Right, we've got a capital fib coming down, but if we run the fib off the low here, 618 retracement. Okay, 618 push on that wick. So if this level continues to hold, right, could we see that push and that one more leg to the upside? Okay, so we'll watch and see if we get that reversal, that swing to happen there. Okay, so coming back to the four now, we have an AB boundary here on the four. All right, on the 50 on the 1 hour. No, you're good. So it's sitting at the 50 on the 1 hour also, right? So we got an AB boundary here coming down, right? That A got taken out. So we got an AB boundary here. So watching to see how price plays here, right? So this level is going to be key for us. Okay, so we'll come back to the one, right? George said sitting at the 50. We got price holding here. We got our cloud moving to the side. So we got consolidation happening. And so we want to see what happens, right? Do we get the catalyst to move this back to the upside? Whatever that could potentially be. Okay. So that's my thoughts here, right? Um, could this be a pullback for a continuation to the upside, getting us to this $80 range? We need the fundamentals to align to get us there. Okay. Um, or do we break this level, right? If then statements. If price stays above this level, could see price rise, right? If price breaks this level, we'll look for a retest and a continuation to the downside. Okay, so those are if then statements, right? If we do break that level, that sets us up for potential 80-20, right? And then we'll be looking at a shorter term retracement for continuation to the downside. Okay, questions on oil, right? And we got those things that we're watching on oil, right? Inventories, OPEC output, right? Geopolitical tensions, okay? Um, so we'll continue to watch those things, and then the Fed outlook as well, and what happens there. Okay. All right. So that's oil. I want to go. Actually, let's go back to this dollar yen real quick. Dollar yen coming down, right? So we'll take a look at some of these yen pairs, yen crosses. Let's come back to the daily here, right? So we're in this consolidation. I got a ton of lines here. Don't mind those. right? But I will clean some of this up so that we can see it better. We got fibs going in both directions because we are in consolidation. All right, we're in consolidation. So we're pressing to the side right now. Okay, we had a nice strong move to the downside. Got a retracement happening here. Stochastic pushing out of that sell zone, right? Got the cloud moving across our screen. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern here, right? Which, based on the dollar and how it's moving, right? I'm looking for this to continue going to the downside, right? If we continue to get dollar weakness, right? I'll see this. We could continue to bounce around a little bit, right? But ultimately, breaking out to the downside, continue that move down, getting us to our matching extension. We didn't get to that 786 level, so our matching extension is 132. Okay. Overall, right? We had that crown pattern drawn. You guys remember this? Right? Boom. So this is our harmonic fib here. We got an 8-6 retracement, so 135 on the harmonic fib, right? On the fibs coming down that leg that pushes us deeper. So we're looking for continuations to the downside here on this dollar yen, right? And the crown pattern playing out to the downside. Okay. So even if we bounce around here, right, could we get a high price if we're not in this to get short and run down to 130, 135, 132, that range? Okay. So that's what I'm looking at overall on the dollar. We come down to these lower time frames where we had fibs going back and forth here. So we'll run them off the low. And they're bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. Boom. All right. So there's that fib on the 4 that got taken out. Right? Took out the A, headed to the downside. So we come down here, boom. We got a 382, and now we're trying to push to the downside. We broke that B boundary, pulling back right now, right? Retest that engulfing candle, and we look for a continuation to that 142 range, right? Even if we bounce around, if we bounce off that trend line and pull back deeper, that's okay, right? That'll give us a high price to get back short. Yeah. Yeah. That one, that's definitely how it's looking right here, Joy. Um, so even if it bounces around and continues to consolidate in here, right? Maybe we get back to that previous daily level, right? 50% 618 range, retest the top of that downtrend line, this wedge X look here, right? Um, but do we get that consolidation to continue for that move to the downside? Okay. Ultimately, I'm looking down. Whether we break this now or we pull back higher and break it later, right? Ultimately, I'm looking for moves to the downside here on this dollar yen. Okay. Down on the 1, there's your look. Okay. So that's where we are on the dollar yen. Looking short, so looking for retracements and continuations down. All right. Questions here? No.
On the 4, was that a butterfly, a bear butterfly? I was trying to count.
Where are you at?
Yeah,
Talking about this?
yeah, that leg starting at that leg.
Blah, 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 blah.
Might be wrong. I might be seeing things.
This low here.
Yep.
Oh, Gartley.
Oh, it's early. My bad.
Yep. You got that move down. Good eye. Good eye though. Good eye. All right. And then you got that move down. Great work. Great work. All right. All the harmonic patterns in here. All right. Um, cool. So that's the dollar yen. Let's take a look at Swiss yen. Right. You got two safe haven currencies battling it out. Right. And you got price sitting at an all-time high here. I don't know what this red line is. Maybe we'll sit on lower time frame. Um, but we got the market battling it out here, right? All-time highs. That's where he at right now. And this peak up gave us a new all-time high. So watching to see where price goes from here. We got a swing low to form. We pushed up. Do we stall here? And do we get another move down? Okay. Um, that's what I'm looking to see if we get. All right. Down on the weekly, we've already hit a D extension, right? This new fib would look something like this. Okay. Double bottom here, pushing to the upside, right? That has an extension of 193. We'll see if we get there. All right. Watching the Bank of Japan to see if their tone starts to change as we move through these summer months. So that's something that I'm curious about. So if we break this level, 180, right, strong bullish action and retest and hold, then I can see us getting to that 193. Okay. But that's what I'm watching to see as data comes in. From the Bank of Japan. I want to see what their narrative looks like as things are starting to calm down with the Middle East tensions, and they still haven't figured out a negotiation, a tariff situation, but um, looking to see where things go there. Okay, yeah, that's not a swing low there. So if some of those things come into alignment and they get um, in agreement with Donald Trump on the tariff situation, right? Maybe that calms things down a bit from an inflationary perspective, and we see them be able to take a step back and continue to take their time, right? But if things continue to be kind of rough and inflation pushes higher, they could start to change their narrative a little bit sooner. Okay. So coming down to the daily, I want to come back here. Boom. Okay. So on the daily, we hit a D extension as well. And that's our fib on the daily also, right? So same story as the weekly, right? When it comes to where we're sitting right now. Okay. So we'll watch this and see where price goes. We've got some consolidation happening right now at this level. Okay. So we'll monitor that there. We'll drop some support levels in here. There. And there. Okay. So we'll be aware of where price goes. All right. So that's where we're on the daily. Oops, I probably shouldn't have done that. That's my weekly chart. Let's go to my daily chart here. My bad, guys. That's a smaller wave there. Um, my larger waves that. Nope, not there. Interesting. Thought I had a larger wave on that than I just had on the weekly. I'll figure it out. But looking at smaller waves, right? That puts us at 189. I have to go back and map my fibs out again. But no, I'm sorry, not 189. We got a 786 retracement here, so 183, right? On these smaller waves to the upside. Okay, so we'll mark this out as well, just to track them. Boom. Okay. So we're moving to the upside. We're getting there, but do we start to stall out and do we move back down to the downside? We got stochastic in the sell zone. We're exhausted here on the daily.
That's what I have, Ryan. Same setup.
This what you have? I don't know
Yeah.
what happened on that weekly time frame, but cool. So appreciate that confirmation. So let's watch this and see where we go. Okay. Do we finish this out and get to that D extension and then get our reversal? Or do we continue to stall here around this weekly level and start to come back down to the downside? Okay. So I'll be doing my research this weekend on the Bank of Japan to see what their narrative is and see if that's starting to change at all. Uh, so that we can just continue to keep our eyes on that and prepare for any shifts that may be on the way. Okay. So that's on the daily. We'll drop these down. Boom. So now on your 4, fresh AB boundary. Okay. Got a fresh AB boundary here. So some scenarios, right? If we do make that push to the D extension on the daily, right? We could push into this 118 and 127 zone on the 4, setting us up for a beautiful 80-20 and a move down. Okay, so that's a scenario to watch, or we could move from where we are to the downside. Right. So let's watch again how things develop and see where we go from here. Okay. So that's what I have on the 4, and then down on our 1. We already got a 50% retracement. And then matching extensions at 183 around that extension on the daily time frame. Okay, so that's where we are on the Swiss yen. I'm just keeping my eyes on these to see where we are, right? And if that native starts to shift from the Bank of Japan. Questions here?
No, sir.
All right, cool. Pound yen is running to the upside, right? And kind of similar. We're sitting at some high prices. Okay. Sitting at high prices, weekly time frame. We already got to the D extension there, right? Fib coming off the high. We're at a 618 retracement. We've been here twice already. Okay. Been here twice already. And so where do we go from here? Tony Braxton. Um, where do we go from here? Okay. Do we continue to press higher or do we stall and make a move back down to the downside? Okay. Coming down to the daily, we got an 8-6 retracement. That puts us here at 202, right? If we're able to break above this range that we're sitting at right now. Okay. So, excuse me, watching this close to see, I manually drew that capital fib in here also so that we can track that move, right? 8-6 retracement, matching extension is 211, right? Which is just above this extension here. So we got a little bit of a range there back at those highs of 208. Okay, so again, watching the fundamentals to see Are we able to break this level and continue moving to the upside, or do we stall here and come back down to the downside? Stochastic pushing into that sell zone. Okay, down on the 4, we're ranging around that B boundary. Okay, range around the B boundary. If we push up, right, that 202 level, right, is in line with or above that D extension on the 4. So we'd head to the D extension there if that happens. Okay. So, excuse me, that stochastic is coming back down. So we'll watch this and see where we move. Okay. So not a ton happening right now, but it's kind of where my head is watching these to see how they play out. Okay, so we got a B boundary here, shallow retracement. Do we push into the 118, 127 zone? Maybe higher, get to that 203 level. And then do we see that retracement or do we get that move back down now? Okay, so we'll watch and see the fundamentals and if we're starting to prepare for Bank of Japan to start to shift. Okay, questions on the pound yet?
Nope.
Nope. All right, cool beans. Let me just double check, make sure I'm not missing anything. No, that's it right now. Questions on anything that we covered this morning? No? Benny, anything before we wrap it up, bro?
Hey man, great session. I will you covered a lot this morning, man. Got right back in the saddle, Ryan. Got it done. Uh no, I will cover the Visa stock tomorrow.
Okay,
So
perfect.
got a presentation on that. So I was gonna do it today, but um we we uh
My
we
bad.
flip days. Yeah, so I will do it tomorrow. So definitely tune in tomorrow because we'll get that covered in detail. That's it.
No doubt, man. All right, looking forward to seeing that. All right, good people. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for this pre-note session with my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen, deep diving into Visa. All right. You guys have a phenomenal Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.